we should have a theme tune.
We should.
That's just Have I Got News for You.
I'm loving it. I think that might be taken. I hate myself. Yeah.
The McDonald's theme. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, they won't sue.
Do you know what? Might even just put that in as the intro. What everything we just did.
Yes.
And then it cut, and then it's like a cold open.
Oh yeah.
And then
it
plays the theme tune. Hello everyone, and welcome to the podcast where we talk about everything you didn't know you wanted to hear. I'm Matthew Lyon, and I'm here with Evan Dixon.
Okay. Yeah.
That's an excellent response to your own name.
I hesitated, and then
most people tend to say hello, but you know that's fine if you want to do it that way.
Yeah. I'm trying out different tones of sincerity. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. Just a new style.
Yes.
Okay, so this is our first episode, and basically for first time listeners, you have to be a first time listener. We are two guys from Scotland, and we basically wanted to talk about things that you didn't expect to hear and that you didn't know you wanted to hear. And we're going to be doing this just for the enjoyment of ourselves and the enjoyment of others. Mainly for ourselves, but we want to answer the big questions.
We do.
Mostly made up on the spot by us. Mm-hmm. But you know what? If you listen to this and you want to submit a question, feel free to do that by sending to our P.O. box. No one gives a shit at 29 fuck you road.
A P.O. box wouldn't have.
Yeah, it wouldn't have a number, would it? Or a road, would it? No, that's not how P.O. boxes work. But no, honestly, if you do want to send us any questions, that would actually be super cool. Drop us an email at wordswithoutwisdom@gmail.com, and we will try and do those if anyone cares. So, I thought for our first one, for our first question, we'd come up with one that we've been discussing for quite some time.
Since time immemorial.
And that's since possibly the beginning of all time. It's one of the most important questions in the scientific world. It's an essential question to understanding life in the universe. And that is, if you put a slice of cheese on a piece of bread and you put it and you cook it, heat it in some way as to make the bread crispy like toast or as toast, and to melt the cheese, is that grilled cheese or cheese on toast?
I'm going to take a slightly maverick approach to this and come out with neither.
Neither?
It's roasted cheese.
Roasted cheese, but
yes.
You're not roasting it at any point.
Roast is quite a broad term, I would say.
I would say roast is actually quite a specific term.
Well, I mean, if you want to be
roast
pedantic about
I thought roast referred to in an oven, and then it takes long period of time. It's like you roast a chicken because you put it in the oven for a long time, usually in some kind of tinfoil or something. Is that not roasting? Is that not what roasting is? Other than obviously dubbing on your friends?
I think a slow, long amount of time is very subjective and very relative. But here's how...
Well, how long do you put your cheese on toast on for?
Well, I don't eat cheese, so not at all. So maybe I'm not a very good authority on this at all. And maybe I've just completely tarnished my credibility. But here's what I say. Because I think that roasted cheese and cheese on toast...
Maybe what we've actually done is picked a really bad question for a podcast which involves someone who is a vegetarian and sort of part vegan and someone who doesn't like cheese very much.
Well, no, I think we we're not tainted by bias. We have quite an independent outlook on this.
We don't have.
I would say,
but
here's how I see it. I think roasted cheese and cheese on toast and grilled cheese are three distinct things.
Are they? Okay.
So I believe that roasted cheese is a bit of cheese on a bit of bread which you cook in the oven or possibly under the grill. I think cheese on toast is toast which has been pre-cooked and then has a slice of non-melted cheese placed on top of it. That's what I picture when I hear cheese on toast.
Cheese on toast. So
grilled cheese.
So post heating toast with some post heating up cheese applied.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I said that in a
sort of
way,
thermal contrast. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but
thermal contrast. I think you just made that up.
I think it should be. Get it in Urban Dictionary. I'm writing it down. Thermal contrast.
Jamie Oliver will pick it up next.
It's going to be the name of my new grunge band. And what else was I saying? Grilled cheese is.
It's not bad actually.
Grilled cheese is a cheese toasty.
Grilled cheese is I'd say a cheese toasty is a cheese toasty.
No, I don't agree because I think.
That's my main question with this is that for some reason we debate this, and yet I don't think either. I know I wouldn't, and you don't eat cheese, so I would never ever just have a slice of cheese on one piece of toast. I'd have a cheese toasty. I'd have a sandwich.
What we really should be debating is why do people do this?
Why do people put slices of cheese just on one piece of, like it's a sort of replacement for jam or butter?
Yeah, it's not a condiment.
Who puts jam on toast?
Bread.
Do people put jam on toast?
Yeah. No, I do. I don't. I had a stroke. No, people do. I don't. I'm not people.
I'm not people.
No.
That should be the new description for the podcast.
I have waived my right to be human.
To be a human being. When you refuse to consume meat like a true alpha male.
I don't think it has anything to do with being an alpha male.
That is not a real thing, by the way. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
The whole concept of an alpha beta, like in the wolf pack sort of thing. Have you ever heard of that? Like it's a wolf pack community mentality thing. The wolf plus community. No, have you not heard that? Like alpha and beta though, they're from supposedly from the wolf pack thing, right? Apparently that's not true, and that was the guy who wrote the paper that came up with those terms debunked his own paper and said that it was shit and was wrong.
But are you just saying that because you know you're a beta male?
No, I'm a sigma male. But no, it's true. He was like, this is just not true. It also does help with my insecurities about being a zeta male, but
an upsilon male,
a mu male, a mu male.
That's just a bull.
Well, there's the next big question. What's your favourite letter of the Greek alphabet?
I mean, I'm partial to upsilon. I don't know. It depends. Like, in what context? Like, just generally.
Just generally. You know, you're sitting at home, you're on your bed, you're thinking, "Oh, damn, I just love upsilon."
I feel like you have one. I feel like you just wanted to segue into this because you want to.
I feel like I did just want to segue into this. I also wanted to question your use of upsilon over epsilon.
Potato.
And would you really think? Is it? I thought they were two different letters.
They are.
Exactly. So it's not that at all.
No, potato is a completely distinct vegetable from a potato. That's why.
Oh, it's found in Eastern Romania.
Yeah.
The potato.
Yeah. Very, very, very.
Anyway,
favourite Greek letter?
No, but I feel like I was just offended by your reference to upsilon because it's just the crap cousin of epsilon. It's just like...
I disagree. I think upsilon is the quirky cousin, the sort of cousin that, like, maybe doesn't have as high paid of a job, maybe isn't as, traditionally successful in life, but has a lot more fun, drinks a lot more, goes on holiday a lot more. I think Upsilon's a fun guy.
Okay. Well, Sure, but Epsilon, he's the daddy. Anyway, getting onto it, my favourite Greek letter is probably mu, which is why I mentioned it. A, or alpha, because it has the best... Well, it's got the best name because it's so easy to say. It's quick, it's simple, it's to the point. Mu, boom, done. But also because it has... It's fun to draw or write. This is a question. For the Latin alphabet, right? Because we are native users of the Latin alphabet, we say write the Latin alphabet. But I always seem to, when I think about Greek letters or Cyrillic letters and stuff like that, I always think draw, not write. But that's technically, wrong. It's just that they are more like, even like, especially Japanese or Chinese or something like that, it feels more like drawing than writing because each letter has a lot more put into it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. No. Agreed. Especially Cyrillic cursive. That's just unnecessary.
I've been learning too much about Cyrillic recently.
I don't speak any Cyrillic languages.
I've been playing GeoGuessr.
Oh, me too.
Hashtag not ad. Hashtag not spawn. But
I wish GeoGuessr would sponsor us because it's fucking expensive.
Is it? No, it's only like £15 for a lifetime subscription.
Is it? I don't know if I want to spend £15 on a lifetime subscription, though.
I mean, that's like quite a long time.
I suppose. What's your favourite GeoGuessr?
Ad infinitum.
What's your favourite GeoGuessr game?
Well, I mean, I usually play Country Streak because it's easier. Because you don't have to guess the exact location. You just get so you inevitably, most of the time, me and we've been getting really good. We got 17 streak the other day.
My highest is 10.
Such a loser. But no, because all you have to do, you drop in and you just go far enough until you see a flag or the name of the place, name of the city you're in if you're in a major city, and then boom, you're done. It's easy. You just pick the country. Like the number of times we've been in Lagos, Nigeria, and you just see a sign that says this is 12 street, town, or like region, Lagos, and you're like, oh, I'm in Nigeria. Boom, done. It's a much easier game. Anyway, what I was saying about Cyrillic characters, I've been playing a lot of GeoGuessr, so been getting a lot of Cyrillic countries that use the Cyrillic alphabet. And Ben has been teaching me, Ben is a person, ignore him, he doesn't exist, has been teaching me about the Cyrillic alphabet so that I can better recognise different countries. And what we discovered that even he didn't know is that there is a country, I think it is Kyrgyzstan, maybe? Just a message from Editing Matthew, editing the podcast, that the country is in fact Serbia, not Kyrgyzstan, so just to correct that so that we don't get any angry messages. That uses J's in its alphabet, and it's the only Cyrillic country that does that. And that's how you can identify it when playing GeoGuessr.
That's interesting. I don't think that was useful knowledge, but are we about useful knowledge? No. This is not the useful knowledge. This is not the podcast.
This is not the podcast of useful knowledge. No.
No.
If you wanted useful knowledge, go elsewhere.
Exactly. Useful knowledge.
This is the podcast of burnt cheese and backwards A's. U's. Backwards U's even, because moo is a backwards U. Speaking of backwards U's, the world got turned upside down just this week. And what I've done here is thought of a segue, but not the actual thing I was going to say.
The thing you were going to segue into.
I'm not even doing it. I just thought of an excellent segue, which is, well, I say excellent, it was pretty corny, but it was okay. But hadn't worked out what the thing was that had happened yet. And I'm going to leave this in because I think it's more entertaining than anything else we've said.
It's either entertaining or it's cringe, but I think most of my entertainment comes from sort of, I mean, there are people, it's like when people, start YouTube channels and then you only watch for the purposes of having something to cringe at, because people take pleasure in other people's sort of embarrassment.
I mean, that's why The Office exists. Excellent show, by the way. There's a question. UK or US Office, which is superior?
I must admit, I haven't really ever fully watched either. Like, I haven't sat down and made a conscious effort to watch either. So,
I mean, the US Office I understand because it's so long and so many seasons, but the UK Office, 2 seasons, 6 episodes each, bam, 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 done, easy. Honestly, watch it. Fantastic. Just, it's peak British comedy. It is peak British comedy.
Yeah.
That's what if you haven't seen it.
I think British comedy is always sort of more sophisticated than American comedy anyway. It's like the thick of it compared to Veep.
See, I haven't seen Veep.
Veep's good.
Well, you say British comedy versus American comedy. That's weird though, because they're both written by the same guy.
I know.
Who is British.
As is Veep, as is Veep in the thick of it, both written by the same guy. But it's like it translates differently to an American audience.
That's what I was talking about.
Oh, I thought you meant The Office.
I was talking about Veep. No, because the American Office isn't written by Ricky Gervais. The first season is, but the rest of it isn't. The first season is the worst season of the American Office. But Veep and think of it, written by the same person who is British, but from what you said, Veep is very is clearly American.
And maybe it's
humor
a character
instead.
thing rather than a nationality thing. Maybe it lacks something without Malcolm Tucker and
but
a woman in
do you think
his place? Not that I'm saying that
women are perhaps inherently inferior.
No, I'm just perhaps it's. Oh, I've really dug myself into a hole here. Cut this out.
Yeah, you really have. Just no, it's stinging. So this is going to be the quote on the Twitter post announcing this first episode. It's going to be Evan Dixon.
Perhaps it's
women are inherently inferior.
No, it's not inherent. Maybe poorly written, or maybe just a sort of societal thing about how it feels weird that these lines are coming from not Malcolm Tucker. Just hypothesizing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it would be helpful if I'd seen it, but I never
sociologist, whatever. I don't know. Got my ologies mixed up.
But I'm just wondering if he, when writing Veep compared to writing The Thick of It, consciously thinks, right, I'm writing for an American audience. I should do more American jokes and be more Americanized, blah blah blah, or whether he thinks, he just writes it and somehow just subconsciously in writing characters who are American in settings that are American, somehow that is inherently American. Like, is the humor of America conscious in its development?
Either way, it takes skill.
Or is it just somehow some inherent aspect of American culture that they enjoy a more optimistic, sort of colourful, pleasurable outlook on humour rather than man dies of cringe? Speaking of Americans in America, we are going to be doing the first episode, the first section of our new segment, or our current segment, podcast within a podcast, that we are calling America's Hottest Politicians. Welcome to America's Hottest Politicians with Matthew Lyon and Evan Dixon. Evan doesn't actually know that we're doing this, but Evan has this thing where he's really attracted to strange old American politicians. And by old, I mean like old age, not of a previous time, because that would be more acceptable. And we're going to take one each week for some reason and ask the question, hot or not? And it's still about questions. I'm keeping it on theme. Hot or not?
I think I can anticipate what my answers will be and what yours will be.
Well, you might be able to convince me. I will maintain an open mind through all of this in an attempt to be as impartial a judge as possible. Because in the end, what I decide is fact, and it's not allowed to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'd like to know
that. I mean, these are not purely physical, of course. These are based on charm and personality.
Somehow.
Or the charm and personality that I perceive from
that you perceive from photos and having never truly met them,
or even really know that much about them. Especially since
it's a gut
long
attraction,
retired.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a
purely
gut
physical. But also, not purely physical, purely physical.
Do you want to give us the name of our first candidate for Hot or Not?
Our first candidate for Hot or Not was a United States Senator from Florida. Senator from Florida for 18 years between 2001 and 2019. He chaired the Senate Aging Committee and previously was a member of the United States House of Representatives from 1979 to 1991. He's also well known for having served in NASA and was a payload specialist on one of the Space Shuttle missions, Space Shuttle Columbia missions. It is, of course, former US Senator Bill Nelson.
Former US Senator Bill Nelson is our first candidate for Hot or Not. Who, first name, by the way, actual first name, Clarence.
Clarence.
So
who would have thunk it?
Really puts him up on the hot meter for me. I mean, yeah. But it really did sound like you were just reading from his Wikipedia page. Could you even have possibly said after that, before entering politics, he served in the US Army Reserve during the Vietnam War? Was that maybe your next thought? Because that happens to be the next sentence was in his
dragging on a bit.
Page.
Anyway, Bill Nelson.
So, yes, Clarence William Nelson II, Bill Nelson. Google him if you're, for all audio listeners, it's a podcast, it's only audio. Bill Nelson. Google him, have a look at his picture, decide for yourself hot or not, and then we have to listen to Evan's arguments as to what he is presumably, seeing as you've brought him up, hot.
Maybe there aren't arguments per se. Maybe it's just sort of a gut.
Well, explain to us your gut feeling about this rather old. It was just to clarify, we are talking about Bill Nelson now, yes? So his current-ish pictures. So I don't know when this picture I'm looking at was taken, but it's as of this time of sort of generally old age. This was apparently created between 2001 and 2005. So that kind of, like, not young Bill Nelson of a more appropriate age, but full-on adult male Bill Nelson.
I like how you specified the male.
Well, you've just been I can tell you've just been dropped in a scenario here that you did not know was coming, and you are reeling at being exposed for this.
Well, here's the thing. Now, this is not to say that anyone's looks or perceived attractiveness are indicative of their worth as a person, because it's all subjective and relative and defined by society. That being said, it's just for me, it's just an appreciation of someone's good looks.
I mean, you can appreciate his support of same-sex marriage.
Good looks, I would say.
Lowering taxes on lower and middle-income families. These are all good things. I'm starting with his policy.
I mean, we don't have to scrutinise policy. Policy is not really important to this.
It is important, not for this one specifically, because he's a generally okay guy. But when we get to some of your other, when we get into next week's episode, perhaps, or later episodes, the policies may start to become important due to their extremity. But
I don't believe that policy. This should be policy should be one of the criteria. I know. I did this. I know. I did used to think that policy should be a criteria for attractiveness, but I no longer believe such a thing.
Now that you're being exposed.
Now that I'm being exposed, podcast, I think I don't really want to elaborate on it, so I will make no further comment.
Okay, well, for those of you looking at Bill Nelson now and thinking he sort of looks like a dried Ronald Reagan, you'd be right, but a slightly less horrible person. I was expecting some sort of big tirade from you on why he was hot, but
I think I sort of retract every previous statement I've ever made about him in private.
Okay, so have we actually ended this segment with you saying he's no longer hot?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that from a purely subjective individualist standpoint, it is something inexplicable that is in no way tied to personality or beliefs, and purely superficial.
Okay.
And that's all I have to say about it.
Well, that is the end of Hot or Not. The conclusion is, Evan thinks hot, I think not. And that is unsurprising in every way. You've been listening to America's Hottest Politicians with Matthew Lyon and Evan Dixon. Welcome back to the main podcast. Welcome back to the main section. Welcome back to Words Without Wisdom. We're going to get another question in, and as this is a podcast about questions, I thought I'd hop onto r/askreddit and we could possibly answer maybe a couple of the questions that are on there each week as a second segment that I like to call r/askreddit. We are going to go on to hot questions on r/askreddit as of now and see if they are stupid questions and we're trying to ignore them, or whether they are interesting questions that we can discuss. So the second top question, because the first one was dumb, it was about Elon Musk, is what was the dumbest rule your school enforced?
I'm not sure. Can you think of one?
I mean, one, which is just frankly ridiculous, heading into the comments, says, school added thumbprint scanners at gates of school, which counted as registration. Needless to say, I would just walk to school, scan my thumb, and walk back home with them none the wiser. It was a great few months until they noticed. Thumbprint scanners. What kind of school is this, and how much money?
How do you find money for that? And that we can't even find, like, our school can't even find money in the budget for thumbs, let alone, like.
True.
It's how do you find money for that in the budget? Was it a private school? Probably.
Oh, I mean, most likely. There's one about no jackets. We have no jackets in school. Oh, in fact, now that I think about it, in my old school, the dumbest rule that they enforced was possibly they had this, as you would. This is in primary school, so this is for people who don't know the Scottish education system. Primary school is ages 4 until 12, 11. 12, 11. I think I was
something
11
like
when I
that.
left. So it's like middle school, or is it like elementary? I think it's like elementary. So it's like elementary school, and basically we had a rule that after lunch, when we wanted to go back inside, or we didn't want to, but when we had to go back inside the class, they wouldn't let us inside unless we were quiet and we didn't make any noise, and we all had to like stand in silence for at least like 4 minutes before they'd recognize that as being quiet enough. And that meant that people, if you didn't want to go back in, because why would you could just talk, and they'd think it was some punishment for you to be standing outside, but actually it was beneficial. You were missing class, so you were happy about that, and it frankly was a very terrible rule to come up with because it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of ensuring that the kids do something that they don't want to do on the condition that they don't misbehave. I really think these things should be like more thoroughly thought through.
Well, that sounds like a great rule for life generally.
I things should just generally be thought through quite thoroughly, no matter what they are. You know, this podcast.
I can't tell if you laughed that laugh that you do where you don't make any noise, but I hate to tell you this, but on a podcast, that as a laugh doesn't really work. Maybe you could install a laugh button where you record yourself laughing with some noise, and you could just play that instead. A sort of laugh soundboard.
Should I do a more generic sort of stock? Yeah. Like mainstream laugh.
Yeah, we'll just.
Ha!
That was more That was more panto villain. Aha, I have defeated you.
Panto villain is haha.
Haha. Well, yeah, true. It is overtly sexual. Yeah. Well, then how about more like panto dame? Aha.
I do have my fair share of experiences with panto dames. I do remember having a lovely conversation once with Matthew's mother about panto dames.
Tell us all. What conversation did you have?
It wasn't a very in-depth conversation. It was just a sort of her remarking that the panto dame and the panto that we just witnessed wasn't very dame-like because it was in fact a woman.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's understandable that you could come to that conclusion. There's an interesting question, actually. Is it necessary for a dame in a panto to be a man? Is that an essential part of the humour of the role and of the purpose of the role? Or is the purpose of the role more explicitly tied to their actions and their behaviour?
Interesting question. I think certainly there's something that you lose with it not being a man, I would say.
Uh-huh.
There's a certain je ne sais quoi that isn't there otherwise.
For those of us who don't speak French.
And I do not know what.
Okay.
That's a commonly used phrase in English, but okay.
Yeah, well, I couldn't remember what it meant, so I was just using it as a marking point.
A marking point?
This is the kind of quality of language you get on this podcast.
This is
just completely made up words.
It's just our ability
and phrases
to speak, just
such as temperature contrast
over time.
Oh yeah,
thermal contrast. It just degrades over time.
After 50 minutes of this, just whatever this is, it's gonna go. Your ability to understand language is just gonna. It's gonna drop off.
I will drink more caffeine next time. Maybe I'll have a more sort of a better word skills.
That's
see what
excellent.
I mean?
Yeah, no. I hear it. Yeah.
I'll have better word. I will word better.
Speaking of next time, that is us done for this episode. We have reached our allotted time of giving a shit. We're gonna make no claims about this podcast. It's not a professional endeavor. It's not something that you should really listen to if you're looking for the deep answer to deep questions in life. But if you are looking for a fun and hopefully engaging conversation that just takes you on to places you didn't know you wanted to go, this is the podcast for you. Thank you for listening to this point. If you're here, make sure to send in those questions to that email, wordswithoutwisdom@gmail.com. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, just make sure that they are completely pointless and unnecessary questions, because we don't answer any real questions on this podcast. No, I mean, if you actually do want to send some real ones, that's fine, whatever. Thank you very much for listening. I have been Matthew.
And I have been Evan.
And we will see you next week.
Goodbye.